So today is day 2. Welcome to Github School. We're starting with lesson 2. Yesterday we started with the introduction to Github School. Today we're starting with CSS and GitHub and Git. So things are gonna get a little more serious today. There's gonna be a lot to cover. So inshallah, it's gonna be a lot to remember. But if you practice, you will get it right away. So it will be fine, inshallah. So today we'll be learning how to style a HTML page or HTML website. We'll be learning all these things. We'll be learning margin, padding, selectors, borders, box model, and we'll be learning how to connect CSS to HTML file. We'll also learn colors, text, and things like that, display, all that stuff, inshallah. So it's going to be, we'll also touch a little bit on CSS specificity, and that's going to be a subject that we'll cover. So I have to pull up my my slides. I forgot my slides, but I'll bring them up. Let me just stop sharing, but I will bring them up in a second. They're in my Google Drive. So I created a slide for the lessons today, which covers the CSS part. But I was thinking starting with the GitHub part because I think we will need GitHub to do the CSS, especially some part of the CSS. So I think we'll just start with the GitHub, and then we'll go into the CSS. So let me pull up those, and also I have a slide for the GitHub too, a quick slide. All right. So let me just share my screen. So we'll start with the GitHub, and then we'll go over the GitHub, how it works, all that stuff, and then we'll get to the CSS part, because we have to use the GitHub to go through the lesson, and so I can show you the GitHub first. So GitHub, what is Git? What is Git, anyways? So Git is an open source version control system. So it's a system to help you control your code, the different versions of your code. For example, you guys remember when you used to write a paper for like maybe university or high school or something, you have to keep saving the latest one so you don't make changes. You don't like forget that you saved. So let's say you save version 1, you save it in a folder, and then you get a version 2, you save it in a folder, you have another version, you save it in a folder, you have all these versions or different names, and you have to keep track of all of them, which one is the latest, which one has the correct information, all that stuff. Now there's a Git. So for your code, let's say you make changes to your code, you could use a Git without worrying about if you saved the latest changes. What are you going to do if the change you make is going to break and you don't know what you changed, what happens? So, and you can't undo what you just did. So that is where Git comes. It knows what you changed. Even if you change one letter, it will keep track of that. So Git is a software that runs locally in your computer. You could also run it in the cloud by using GitHub. You can also use, you could also use the online hosts such as GitHub, Bitbucket to store and copy files and check their history, the revisions and history. Git also tracks the changes you make to your file. So every time you make a change, a small change, it keeps a record of that. And you could always go back to old version of your code. You could go back to any version of your code. So whenever you save, that you could go back to that. So let's say people who play games know this, but when you play in a game, if you don't save where you are, let's say there are spots where you stop and you say, this is, if I die, this is where I'm gonna come back. If you don't do that, then if you go all the way to the end and then something happens to you and you die, you go back all the way to the beginning. So that's no good. So that is what that's what Git helps you with. It helps you with all the changes that you need. We'll also touch terminal. So a lot of people are scared of like the terminal, the what it is, what it does. But in reality, the terminal, which is called sometimes it's called the command line, sometimes it's called bash, git bash, things like that. It's basically a way to manage your computer. It's just like using your cursor or your mouse to open file, to close file, things like that. Just that way, but you could use the commands to do that. So Windows have something called command prompt. That's usually not considered as a terminal if you have Windows. And we will learn the Git commands, the different types of Git commands. But Git itself has many commands that are built in. So it has a lot of commands that you could use. A very small phrase that you could just put in your terminal and it does something. So we will learn all that. Okay. These are some of the commands that Git has. The first one is git init. Git init helps you create a repository. Repository is just like folder. So we use all these terminologies, repository, Git, all this stuff. But in reality, just repository is just folder in your computer. So repository. So git init, when you say init means initialize. So initialize means start something. So git init is to create a repository in your computer. Git clone is to copy a folder or repository. Sometimes we call it repo. Repo is shortened for repository. So it's basically creating a repository or a folder. I mean, cloning it. Cloning means copying everything. Git add, and then there is a git add dot. Git add basically it takes the files you have and it adds to the Git system. So when you have a Git running in your computer, you have to tell it, you have to give it the files. You have to say, okay, I have files for you to keep track. So these are the files, and then you give it to it. We'll see example of all this. So don't worry, like we'll go deep into it. There's also Git command, Git commit. Git commit helps you. Commit is basically committing to something. So if you're committed to something, it means you're fully accepting it. So Git commit means you take all your code and you send it to the Git. The first one is adding to it, and the commit is basically saying, okay, I'm finally done with it. So I'm done with the code. Now save it to the Git system. There's a Git status. That one is just to check how your code, I mean, your Git status basically, what is going on in your Git, which files are saved in Git, which files are not saved in Git. You use Git status. So these are like small commands you can use. If you memorize these commands and you write them down, you'll be fine, inshallah. So make sure, like, maybe to take a screenshot of these commands, and these are the commands that you will use the most. 99% of the time of what we're doing, these are the commands you will use. So make sure you copy them, or kind of like take a screenshot so that you could use them as a reference. There is a git push, which is a way to send your code to remote repository or remote folder. So for example, if you want to take your code from your computer to let's say GitHub, you use git push. There's also git pull. It's the opposite. So it's basically taking code from a remote repository to your computer. So it's grabbing code from GitHub and putting it in your computer. So but this one is a little bit different than clone. This one is you already have a repository set up in your computer that's exactly the same as the one in the cloud, the one in GitHub. So you're basically saying, okay, pull the changes for me, grab me the changes from the remote repository or remote folder. Okay, so now let's get to GitHub. A lot of you heard what GitHub is. GitHub is basically a website owned by Microsoft now, and it allows you to save code. It allows you to host your code in GitHub. So GitHub is a free platform. So you take all your code, you just save it there. It's basically like Instagram. Instagram is for pictures, and you put your pictures there, or let's say Google Drive, you put stuff there, but for code. So that's the only difference. You could put pictures in there, but it will not like render the pictures and stuff like that. It will just keep the pictures. You can store and send your code to GitHub using Git commands. So the Git commands we just learned, the push one, all that, you could use those to send your code. There's also something called pull request that we will learn, which is important in GitHub. Pull request basically means if when you make changes to the code and you want to send that changes to GitHub, but the code you're trying to ask a person to make to submit your changes. So pull request is I'm requesting to submit my changes to the main repository. Basically, make my changes permanent. Basically, you use pull request. And I will say example of that. So don't worry about it if you don't understand it right now. Pull request, and also it's shortened for PR a lot of times. So if you hear PR, it means pull request. So in Gubby School, we have a Git flow. This means a way to do something. So this is how we do pulling the code from GitHub, doing the work, pushing it back the code. So we have a way of doing it. So the first thing you need to do is you need to go to GitHub and then fork it. Fork means copying. Yesterday we learned code bin. It has fork. Fork basically means copy whatever the code, everything. And then after you fork it, you will add your group lead or instructor. So for example, me, you could add me or group lead to the as a collaborator. And then after that, you clone your version. You basically take your code from GitHub to your computer, and then you will create a new branch. And I will show you example of how this works, all this stuff. I'll show you step by step. And after that, you'll create a new branch, and you will call the branch your name. So you will say your first name and your last name. And then after that, you will start making changes to your code, and then you will push your code to your own repository that you forked. So that's it for the slide. I don't like long slides, so let's learn what Git is and what GitHub is. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure our computer has everything we need. Let me check if I'm sharing my computer. By the way, I see another person joined. Yasser. Yasser, welcome. I can't connect the name to someone from the group. Let me know. Send me a message, maybe your name. Oh, Abdulhab. Okay. Abdulhab. Okay. Welcome to the group. MashaAllah. And Abdulqadir, welcome too. It's afternoon over there in Somalia. Inshallah.
Thank you.
Let's get into it. Inshallah. Yeah, you're welcome, bro. Let's get into it. Let me share my whole screen so you guys can see my computer too. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get, if you have Windows, you need to get Git Bash. Git Bash from this website, gitbash dash scm.com dash download. So I'll share the link. Sorry about that. I'll share the link right there. So download that to your computer or save that link so that you can download it. So once you download it, you just click Windows, you install it. After you install it, this is how it looks like. After you install it, this is how it looks like. So this is what you will see. This looks scary for a person who never did who never used the command line, but it's really simple, and I'll explain it what it does. There's also a CMD. So this one is the Windows one. So this is the command prompt. We're not going to use this one. The reason for that is it's not terminal. It's not linked to a Linux kernel, as they say. So Linux kernel is an easy way to make a Linux commands. is easier. So Mac computers, they have Linux kernel as a default, but Windows, they don't have that, and so command prompt is not good. So don't use it unless I say you could use it. Always use the git bash. So download git bash and use it. Now from here you see that my name here, and this is my computer name. So it's at my uh, basically it's all the way to the end of where my files start. So now if I say, so there are a lot of commands. So one of the commands is if you want to know where you're at. So this is basically just like opening a folder. So if I open, let's say, this folder, so I have a folder here open, or let's just go to something like Windows. So I have folder open here. It's just like having this folder. If you want to know this folder, you could just look at it. You could just look how many files are in here. But if you want to know how many files are in here, you have to say ls. Ls is, it stands for list. So if you say enter, it will show you all the things that are in here. So as you can see, the ones that have a dash at the end, those are folders. So you know where you're at, and you could just, okay, look at it. Okay, I see all this. So now I see familiar folders like document and downloads. So what I want to do is, I want to go to, let's see, is there pictures here? Yeah, there are pictures. So I want to go to pictures because I want to go to Gibby School folder. So now, if you want to go to another folder, so these are commands that you could write down. So write down ls. Ls stands for list. So if you want to find out what's in here, like if you want to find out where you are, it's basically kind of like looking at where you are. If you're using like GBS or something, the GBS basically checks where you are first, and then it says, okay, it tracks where you are, and then it tells you, okay, the distance is that. Or let's say if you go to a mall, let's say you dropped into a mall, and you didn't know, like you just you were blinded, like you just fell into a mall. First thing you need to do is you need to know where you're at. So that's basically the terminal. You just need to know where you're at, and to know that, you just write ls, and it just shows all the folders here that you have. Now you know where to go. So now we want to go to pictures. If you want to go to pictures, you use a command called cd. Cd stands for change directory. So cd, and then you just type the name of the folder that you want to go to. Another thing you could do is you don't have to type the whole thing. You could type maybe a like 2 or 3 letters of it, and then tap, and then in your keyboard you just touch tab. So, and then it fills out the whole thing for you. But let's say if it's if the name is not unique, it's not gonna fill out. It will just tell you, oh, sorry, you can't fill out. As you can see here, it gave me all the folders that start at P. So you have to make it kind of unique. You have to say something like pick, and say, okay, enter. Now we could just say ls to know where we're at. So as you can see, all these are the folders in picture. We want to go to Gibby School folder. So we say cd Gibby, and as you can see, it fills out for us. As you can see, this is a backward a slash. That means there's a space here. So Gibby and school, there's a space. And if you wanna go into a folder that has a space, you just put that backward a slash, and as you say enter. So from here, you could actually look at where you're at. So now you're in pictures and you're in Gibby school. If we say ls again, it shows all the things in the Gibby school folder. So as you can see, we have section 1 here, all this stuff. We could go into, let's say, section 1. So let's say cd, and let's say you want to go back. Actually, let's say you don't want to be in here, you want to go back. You could say cd dot dot. So the 2 dots means take me back. So it will take you back to pictures. So this is how you navigate through folders. So it'll take it, and then let's go back to Gibby school. Do you guys have any question about that? How to navigate? Okay, let me know. You can write down your questions in you can write down in Slack, or you can write them down in inshallah in the Zoom chat. So, and we're recording this, so if you missed something, inshallah you can watch the recording later. All right, let's see. So that's how you navigate. Now, what are we gonna do is we're gonna go to another folder. Let's see, CD section. We're gonna want to go to section 1. Actually, let's just section 1. So now we're in section 1. So now we could like create something here. We want to create a folder. Okay. My git bash using Windows command line. So are you using git bash? So the Windows. Okay, so that's good. So we're using the git bash. The Windows command line is good, but it's not perfect. It doesn't have things that the git bash has. Okay, good. All right. So let's create a folder. So to create a folder, you just say mkdir. Mkdir means make directory, and directory is just a like folder. Mkdir, and we will make something like let's make something like we're trying to uh let's make a test. Let's say CSS test. Let's say that. So okay, so let's just create that. Now you could just say ls, and it shows here we have full time, part time, and we have CSS test as a folder. We can go in there if we want. We say CSS, we say CD. Now in this folder, now in this folder we could open it in an editor, so we don't have to do a lot of things. If you have Windows and you have if you have Windows, you could download an editor, and I would recommend VS Code, Visual Studio Code. So go to Visual Studio Code website. I'll share the link. Visual Studio Code. Try to download it. It's the one that everyone uses these days. So make sure that you download that one. So that's the one we're gonna use. If you have Mac, it's the same thing. So keep that in mind. So we could do two things. We could either say code dot, and that means open this folder in with VS Code. Open it to VS Code. That's what it means. The code dot. If you have Mac, you just have to go to the folder. So you just have to go to, like, let's say here, pictures. You have to go to Gibby School. Go to section 1, and then go here, and then you could open it here. So and you could also right click within the folder and say open with code, and that will open it in VS Code. So there's different ways to do it. So now if we do that, it will open it in editor. So the folder is empty, so there's nothing in here. We could like get started adding something here. So that's how you use the git bash. I hope that wasn't a lot. There was a lot to cover, so I had to go through everything quickly. Let's reference to the lecture today. I mean, the lesson for today. So you can watch this video, and let's see what we're covering. So we did talk about how the git bash is like the explorer, the folder. Um, and there's a warning here. This warning is basically saying using the git bash, it gives you a more control of your computer. So don't just copy any command and just post it here. It can ruin your computer, and if it's not good, it will just mess it up. We will go through the git bash and the Gibby School git flow. Okay, and we'll go through all this when we get to GitHub. So the next step is getting to GitHub. So we just learned what Git Bash is. We learned the editor. So the editor is VS Code. Basically, just a general overview of it. This left side is where your folders are. So, and if you don't have it like this setup, you could go to, let's see, where is it? You could go to, there was a way to reset it. But when you download it, it usually just like this. It's like this most of the time. If you don't have it like this, let me know. So on the left side is your folders and your files. So now we could just create a folder here or a file. We could just say this one, like create a new file, or right click, new file. We could say something like index.html, and that creates a HTML file. We could also say style.css to create a CSS file. So we could do a lot of things with it on this side. So these are your folders. And also, if you want to search something, you have it here to search. VS Code has extensions. They are just the softwares that will help the how your VS Code operates. So I will say you could get that from here, extensions. So there's a lot of extensions that you could download. Let's say if you want to have like auto close tag. Auto close tag is basically if you're creating a something like, let's say, HTML, it just closes it automatically for you, as you can see here. Let me just zoom in. So now if we say body, it just closes automatically for you. Instead of you typing it, it just automatically, and that's this extension. So auto close tag. Let's see. There's a code spell check. Code spell check is, let's say you write English word and it's not spelled right. Let's say we write something like spell, or that's, I think that's English word, spell, something like that. See, it tells you, oh, that's not spelled well. So it's just a spelling check. Let's see. So there is a lot of extensions that you could download. There's a Prettier. Prettier helps you like format your code so it looks nicer. So you can, you could investigate this and just go to Google and type the best VS Code extensions to download. So that's mainly, that's what it does, the extensions. So this is VS Code. You could do a lot of things with it, but over time you have to keep using it almost every lesson. So you'll get used to it, and you'll get it. So we did that. Let's get to GitHub. Let's get to GitHub. We understood this. Let me just close a couple of things. So we understood this, and we can close this. We have to open it again anyways, but let's keep it open. Let's keep it open. Let's go to the browser and go to GitHub. So if you don't have an account in GitHub, make sure that you go and sign up for account. Let me sign out so I can show you guys. So you just go here, sign up, and it's free. And you fill out this form and all that, and you will have an account, inshallah. So it's very simple. Now, so when you come here, usually what you want to do is you want to go to your profile. Let me zoom in. You want to go to your profile. Your profile is basically, it shows all the activities that you did. On the left side, it shows you your profile. It shows you like how many people following you, how many people you're following, your location, all that stuff. You could do all that. And also here it shows a prev. So these are, you might not have all this. You might have like maybe 2 of these or maybe 1. So you could pin a project, basically, pin in a project. Here you have the chart. This chart is important for, like, let's say if you want to get a job or something like that. So this chart basically shows your commits. Commits are the code that you pushed. So how many code you pushed. So for me, 2021, it starts from here. So these are my 2021. 2020 is this. 2019 is this. So it's basically a lot of I've been pushing a lot of code. So it shows the darker the dots are, the more commits, the more times you push the code. So for this day I pushed 25 times. So this day I pushed 28 times. So that's how you know. And a lot of times when you're looking for a job, the people who are interviewing you might check actually your contributions. So if they see a lot of contribution, it means you're a very active developer. They might trust you a little bit more. But it's not all interviewers or jobs actually check that. So it's just something to keep doing. So I would say just keep committing or pushing the code almost every day. On here you will see repositories. Repositories are what we talked about. These are just your code. So the things that I pushed, all these is different things I pushed over time. You could push any type of code, any HTML, CSS, JavaScript, anything you could push to here. Let's say and you have projects and things like that. I don't have anything projects, but let's say we go to something like this one. So this is project I worked on. It actually doesn't have a README, so that's not good. It's always good to have a README. Let's see this one. Yeah. So this one is a React project I worked on a while back. Basically, this is your code and the README. The README is right here. It says readme.md. It is a description of what are you doing basically. There's a lot of things going on here. As you can see here, we actually talked about pull request, and we'll talk more about it. But let's get to it. Let's get to basically what we're gonna do. In general, this is what GitHub is. You push your code, and it keeps track of your code. So let us actually use this as a way to follow these steps. So the first step would be to create your version. So to fork it, basically to fork a from Gibby School. So let's go to Gibby School actually and fork something. So go to Gibby School. So this is the Gibby School repository or GitHub page. If we want to fork something, let's say we want to fork one of the lessons. Let's say let's go to this the responsive maybe, or let's go to this one maybe. So we want to fork it. So to fork it, you go to here at the top. So where it says fork, you go there. So before you do anything, when you come to GitHub and you click the link from the assignment, you always go to let's say you always go to fork. So you just go to fork it, and it tells you, okay, where do you want to send it? And you're gonna send it to your account, and it will just copy everything from Gibby School to your account. So now I have the code here. So I have all the code here. As you can see, it says here forked from Gibby School. So I have the code. This is my code now, and this is the one I have. Let's go to here. So we did the forking. Your name should now be in the front. So as you can see here, it shows my name right here. It shows my name. And then step 3, you add a collaborator or a or group lead. So to add a collaborator, you go to settings. So collaborator is, for example, like me. So it's the person who's going to check your code. So I will not be able to check your code unless you add me as a collaborator. So the next step would be go to settings, go to manage access. It will ask you to log in maybe sometimes. And then you say invite collaborator right here. Invite collaborator. Then you put my name here. So you say something like Duran Ali. I can't see here because it's my own account. But if you put my name here, Duran Ali, and this is my GitHub, Duran Ali, you'll find my name, and then you just say click, and then you say invite that person. So you just select here invite, and it will send me invitation to your GitHub. So once you're done with that, the next step would be to we did all this. I showed you. The next step is to clone your repository. So cloning means copying all the code to your computer. So now we did that. We'll go back. We'll click the name of the code. You see here it says code. You click that, and it gives you this link. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna copy this link, copy it, and you will go back to your Git bash. You go back to your Git bash. So this is where you do the git command. So git clone is the command that we use to clone code from GitHub to your computer, and then you will paste the link they gave you, and then you say enter. Now it's git bash is gonna go and grab that code from GitHub and copy it to your computer. Now if we go to the folder, as you can see here, there is a folder here. And we already created these two, so let's just actually delete that. There's a folder here, and if we go to our editor, there's a folder here too. So as you can see, this is the code that we just copied. This is one of the assignments in the future when we do in JavaScript. So we did that. Now the next step is in here in your Git bash. Another thing you could actually do is you don't have to have this Git bash open. VS Code actually has its own Git bash. So if you say new terminal, if you say terminal, new terminal, it automatically detects that you have Git bash installed in your computer, and it will open it. So you could actually just close this and use the VS Code terminal. So it's the same thing. And you could also open multiple ones. You could actually divide. You could say it like that, and it will open another terminal here. So I would say just delete that. So we need to do the next step. The next step, so we say cd to the folder. Cd means go into the folder. We're already in the folder. Actually, we're not. We're in the CSS test. We need to go to this folder. So we need to say cd JS. So if you say JS, it will automatically detect because that's only JS. If there's another JS, it will tell you, okay, you have to have a unique name. Now we're in this folder. The next step would be to okay, so use the git clone. Okay, we did this. Okay, cd into it. Okay, now the next step we need to do is we need to put our name as a branch name. So the branch name now says main here. So branch name basically means if we go back to GitHub, the branches are right here. So we have one branch, as you can see here. So if you click that, there's the main branch. That's the main branch. That's the one that is default. So we need to create a new one. The reason we need to create a new one is because you need to put your own code in that instead of mixing the main one. And so this is part of production. So when you're working with a team, let's say you're working with several people, you don't want everybody to push their code to the main one, and then that means the code will be messed up. It will be like everybody's code mixed with somebody else's code. So you need to create your own branch and then merge it. Basically mix yours to the main one when everybody agrees and the code is tested and everything. So that's what we're trying to do right now. So what are we going to do is we're going to say git checkout b. So this basically says it's one command that helps you create a branch, and also goes then you can go into that branch. So I would say Duran Ali. So that's how you should write your name dash last name, or your father's name. So then we say enter. Now, as you can see here, it says Duran Ali instead of the main Duran Ali. So that's the first that's the step that we need to do. Step 8. Now step 9. Now you could work on your repository and start project assignment done. So now you could just get started, Marka. Like you could just edit the file, do the work, finish the work, And then when you're done with it, now we can't, there's no changes, so we can't do anything. But let's just add it to like maybe like the README. Let's add something like um let's add something like worked here and save. Now when we save, as you can see, the README has a different color. The reason for that is it's asking us, oh, you're not tracking this. You made a change, but you didn't track it. And if we say here right underneath, we say git status, it tells us that it says on branch Duran Ali, changes are not staged for commit. So it's basically says it's saying you made a change, but you didn't commit the change, and the change happened in the README. So that's what Git does. It basically keeps track of all the changes you make, and it's really really important. So now we have to stage it. To stage it, we say git add and then dot. So that's how you add it to the stage, and then it's still, but we didn't commit. So if we say git status, it still says okay, now you staged, but you didn't commit. So to commit it, we say git commit, and then we say m. The m always is there. Yeah, if you forget the m, it's not gonna work. So you have to say git commit m, and then quotes. So the commit, you have to always follow it with a comment, something, and the comment has to go into a quotation. So you have to say something like edited the README, and make sure that when you add in something here, you add something that makes sense. Basically, describe what you did. You could say something like added navigation, something like that. So we say enter. If you forget to add a comment, it will take you somewhere else. Let me know. I don't want to get into it right now, but it will take you to a place that you can't get out. So it will just lock your whole editor, and you have to close everything down. But let me know if that happens to you. So if we say get status now, it says nothing to commit and everything is clean. But we didn't send it to GitHub. So how do we send it to GitHub? So we created the branch and all that. When we're done with everything, we push our code. So this is how you push your code. This command. So you say git push origin and then your branch name, which was my name. So we say git push and then we say origin, right? Yeah, we say origin, and then we say Duran Ali. So make sure you write it like that. So now it's gonna take your code and the changes you made, and it's gonna take it to GitHub and create a new branch in GitHub. So as you can see, everything looks good. Now, if we go back to GitHub now, it will tell us, hey, you have a new branch. As you can see, it says Duran Ali has recently pushed less than a minute ago. And you can see here, it says 2 branches. So we have the Duran Ali branch. So so that means we are the changes you made is in here, but it's not in the main. Now, as you can see here, it says Duran Ali branch. If we check at the README, there's nothing here that we made a change. But if we go to Duran Ali, you will see the change you made. Right here, worked. So now you need to merge. This is where you merge. This is where you create the pull request. So it already tells you compare and pull request. But you could also go to where is it? You could go to pull request, and you could create a new pull request here. So you could do it in different ways. So we'll just create a new pull request. So what you need to do is here, you need to change the main thing from Gibby School to your name. So if you keep it as a Gibby School, that means you're pushing the code to Gibby School, not to your own branch, not to your own main branch. So make sure you change it to your own repository. Okay. Let's see. What did we do here? Oh, sorry. Okay. So we'll say create a pull request. So now it's targeting your own branch, your own main branch. So that's good. The next thing you need to do is you need to add a reviewer. Reviewer will be me. So that would be me. So you already added me in the collaborator. If you don't add me in the collaborator, you cannot add me as a reviewer. So just keep that in mind. So add me in reviewer, and then after that you could say create a pull request. So when you create a pull request, that means you're waiting for me to review the code. So in pull requests, a lot of times what happens is, let's say there's a conflict. Let's say the code in the main account and the code you pushed has a conflict. Basically, it means there's something that is not agreeing within the code, and you will come you will see this in the future. So you have to make a this says it gives you it says no conflict, but when there's a conflict you have to work through that conflict and change your code and kind of like edit it and delete the parts that are making the conflict. So but don't merge your code, don't merge your code. I am the another person has to merge your code. So this is a very, very important point, is when you merge in a code, you never ever merge your own code. So you will wait for me to merge your own code. So when you do this, you're done. Now you just wait for me to check your code and merge it. So if you go through the steps, we did this. So add me as a reviewer, and then after that, do not merge your own pull request. So this is no. This is actually when you're working in the industry as a developer, you see that this is a they will tell you, if you do this in like a production or a big company, you might get fired right away, because it is no. This means you're very confident with your own code. You're basically you are the judge and you're the executor basically. So make sure somebody else merges your pull request. So that's pretty much it. So you're done with doing your pull request, your git push, all that stuff, and now you're just ready for me to review your code. um I know that was a lot. I gave you guys a lot of information in just a small amount of time. It's fine if you don't understand some of it. It's okay to be confused. Just make sure you just follow these steps. Make sure like you just go through here and you just read these steps and you say, okay, did I do this, did I do that, and you just go through it. So and let me know if you have any questions about it. We will take a break and come back. Do you guys have any question about GitHub, Git push, and I mean Git bash, and all the things we just did? Any question? Any question? Okay, no problem. So we'll take a quick break. We'll come back inshallah about 10 minutes, and then we'll get back to the other part of the lesson. I see it. So we actually made a poll yesterday. We made a poll in Slack. So most people agree that we speak English. So yeah, that's why. And also other people will be watching this recording, and we might actually have non-Somali speakers in the future. So that's why we're making it this way. So any other question? Okay, so we'll take a break about 10 minutes, and then we'll get back inshallah, and finish up. We have about an hour left, so we'll do that. The CSS, it's not going to be small. That's also going to be another whole lesson, but inshallah we'll try our best and we'll do it. So I'll see you guys. Yeah, go ahead. Haha.
waxaan ku weydiiyey yani markii loo eego tusaale ahaan oo kale cimilada ama meeshaan anigu joogo yani waqtiga la galayo bootcampka lasoo galayo waa lixdii yani maqribka waa ma garat waqtigii aan geli lahayn
صح
waqtigan salaada maqrib aadna waaye iyo barkan waa markaasas masaajidka ugu soo baxayn wataan hadda soo galay marka yaa kaloo ila qaba cilada aan anigu ahaan
Usually, yeah. So uh, most people actually have so they live in Somalia, so they do have that. So Abdul Qadir and those guys, they do have that problem too. But we also have people coming in different places around the world. We have people from US. So and this is usually the we do 9:30. So you know, it could be other people could be that waqtiga or like salata. You know, every place is different. So it's going to be hard for us to say that we're going to start at a certain time. So another person is going to have a problem with it. So we just choose the time. If you could come, inshallah, it's khair. Otherwise, there's going to be recording. So and this is decided long time ago. We actually set up the schedule about 3 months ago. So most people knew ahead of time when it's going to start. But inshallah, in the future, we'll think about it. We'll think about different solutions. Do it. Okay. All right. Let's take a break, inshallah, and come back in 10 minutes. I'll set up the timer. Let me give me a second. Okay, 10 minute. 10-minute timer. All right, started. Let me share that. All right. 10 minutes will be here. Okay. Uh, s- uh, let's get back to it, inshallah. Can you guys hear me? Everything's good? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good, good.
Yes.
Let's get back to it, inshallah. We have a lot to cover when it comes to CSS. We have a long lesson today. So let's get to it. So today we'll cover all this section. We'll and also this. We'll cover all that. We will touch briefly on a few of them, but we'll cover most of them. And we will keep working on. Not keep working. Actually, we'll start from scratch. The website we did yesterday. The one was with the airplane, international airport. We start with that one. So to get started, we will go to. I created a folder uh, in my computer, and I'll open this folder. Let's just close this. That was the example. Let's open this in VS Code. So now we have an empty folder. We'll get started and just create an index.html. We'll also create a folder. We'll call it CSS. We'll also create another folder and we'll call it. And you could just right click and say new folder, and we'll create images. So just like that. So now we have empty. In the CSS, we'll create a file and we'll call it style.css. And this is where we add our CSS. This is how we will add our CSS, inshallah. All right. So let's get back to this. So this is where we start from scratch, the HTML. So let's just set up our basic HTML. The basic HTML will have header, we'll have head. Within the head, we have title. Not that. We'll have title, and we'll call this international airport. We'll have a body, and we'll have all the content in the body. So footer and all that stuff. So now if we go back to here and we'll open this in the browser, at the top it says international airport. So in the tab, you see that it says international airport. That's what I was talking about last time. All right. Another thing we need to do is so that's a setup. So let's go back to our lesson. So we'll talk about selectors. First, I'll touch each one of them briefly, kind of describe what it is. And also, I need to pull up the box model W3 school so I can explain the box model. So selectors, let's understand what selectors are. So selectors are, let's go to here. Selectors are CSS has several selectors. So there is a universal selector. Selector is basically when you go to CSS and you select something from HTML. So that's what it basically means. There is the universal selector. So this universal selector is the star, and we touched a little bit on it yesterday. If you use this, everything in here will affect everything in your file. So make sure that when you're using selector, you're using it for good reason. Most of the time, you don't need to use it, but if you want something to affect everything, then you use selector. There's a element type selector. We did talk about a little bit this one. For example, H1, head, UL, P paragraph. All those are called element type selectors. So when you're selecting them, you select them by themselves without a dot or anything. There's ID selector, which we touched on a little bit yesterday, which you use the hash bound. And if you want to define it if you want to define it in HTML, you define it like this. You say ID equal to container. And then if you want to define it in CSS, you use the hash bound. So that's the ID selector. There is a class selector. The class selector has a dot in front of it. And if you want to define it, this is how you define it in your HTML. So those are the main selectors that we will see over time. So make sure you understand what those are and how to use them. So in CSS, there is a CSS has a syntax. So this is the syntax of CSS. First, you have a selector. Let me just go back. First, you have a selector. Actually, I have a slide, but we'll just skip that slide. We have a selector. So selector is anything you select from HTML. It's either a class or a ID or element selector. And then you define it. So to define CSS, you have the property and you have a value. So these two, they always go together. For example, color, blue. Font size, 12 pixels. Font size is written this way. If we get to a JavaScript, it will be written in different ways. So it will be connected and it's going to be capital S. But for CSS, this is how you write. So this is the anatomy or basically the syntax of CSS. Okay, so that's generally the selectors. If we go back and we talk about margins, paddings, and model box model, we go to here. We go to W3 schools. Box model is a way that the browsers understand your content. So your content uh, always has a margin around it. If you create a website, let's say we just created this page. We created this page. There's nothing in it, and we write something in it. Let's say we write like H1. Let's say international airport. We didn't add any CSS to it, but if we open it, there's a margin. So there's a space here. That's a default margin that the browser gives it. So there's a margin here, space, and we will learn in the future how to get rid of that. But that is the default margin that gives the browser gives. So there's always some margin. There's also border and there's pattern. So the layer of how to create a box model is you have a content. You have we actually have example here in the training material. We go here, the box model section. Yeah. So you have the margin, you have the border, you have pattern, and then you have the content. If we go to this code bin, so this code bin helps us understand the different parts of the box model. So in the content is what you're like working on. So this is your content. You could add a pattern. Pattern always goes between the border. It goes between the border and the content, and then margin is the top outside layer of your box model. So that's how you always think about when you're trying to define the border. It's the border is between the padding and the margin. So if I ask you to add a padding to this content, make sure that you understand that the padding is right next to the content and it is between the border and the content. So if we actually remove a lot of stuff, let's say let's remove the all that space. There's a lot of space in here. Let's actually just remove this whole thing. Then what happens? It just goes to like that. So if we take the container, actually I do not want to mess it up, so let's just not save it because it's gonna change this. We'll just do it in our editor. So let's say we want to have this as the content. So let's give this as a content. So international airport is the content. We want to put a few things around it. So we want to put like a div around it. So let's put a div and give it a class of container. So put that. Now, if we go to if we give it the CSS, we'll do an inline CSS for now, but we'll go to external CSS for a second, style, and we say dot container. So in the container, we'll give it something like let's give it padding of 40 pixels. Now, if we go back to this, as you can see, there is padding. And let's give that padding a color. Let's say color, background color. I mean, let's give it something like maybe like this color. So, so as you can see, it covers everything. And there's also a outside thing. Let's give it a border. I think we should put something here, another div, and class of border one, and close it. So we want to understand where the border is. Now we just give it, we say border one, and we say something like, let's say border, we say 1 pixel, or let's say 4 pixels, solid, and let's say black. So now if we see, as you can see, there is a margin here. There's a lot of space to margin, but the border is close to the content. The border is close to the content. That means, so we give padding to the content. We shouldn't do that. I mean, the container. So it should be like this. It should be like that. So now we just need to make sure that we understand where the margin is. So so now we could give the content its own div. This might be a little confusing, but we can give the content its own div. Say div content class content. So the lower one is the content. Now, if we just say something like content, we say, let's say something like background color. Background color, let's say something like brown. It's not good, but let's just try that. So as you can see, that's the content. So you can see the different color. This is the border. This is the background, the main background, and this is the background of the content. So okay. So now now we're in a good place to get the padding. So let's give the content padding. Is it something like 40 pixels? Okay. I don't know. Okay, I think I gave it way too much padding. Let's say 10. Okay. Yeah, it got rid of the it basically pushed this background all the way to the edge. So let's just remove this. Okay. So now the content is in the middle. If we go back to here, so this is your content. So this space is the content. I was trying to give padding here, but I have to like kind of define it more. So this is the padding. This is the content area, and this area is the padding. This area is the border, and this area is the margin. Margin is outside, so it just pushes everything from outside from the content. So you always define margin in the top. So you define it here in the content in the container. So you say margin. Let's say something like 50 pixels, and that will push the outside. It will give more space here on the top. So as you can see, it gives more space here. So that is usually Puck's model. There's more to it, but make sure you understand margin is the top, border is in the middle, pattern is the closest to the content or whatever you're trying to create, either image, or the content could be an image, it could be a text, it could be anything. So, but the pattern is the closest one, the border is the next, and the margin is the outside if you want to push from the outside. Any question you guys have about that one? I also want to understand if you guys are most of you have already seen CSS in many places, so I just want to understand where you guys at. So let me ask this question before I move on. Let me see. Let's go to the let's go to, yeah, let's say something like I want to ask, what is the so box model do we use with images? What do you guys think? You could also talk if you want. Do we use the box model with images? I just want to see where you guys at. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys what do you guys think? Is do we use the box model with the images? Okay. All right. Oh, okay. So what about do you use them for like videos? Do you use box model with videos? Just keep in mind that box model is just a way to push things away from whatever you have. So it could be content, text, it could be anything. So it could be anything. It could be actually just to answer that question, it could be image too. For that reason, because the content could be anything. It could be image, it could be video, it could be anything. They're saying content, it kind of sounds like a text, but it's really like anything that you have. Okay, that's good. All right. Yeah. So images, anything. So anything that you put in here, you could have a padding, you could have border, you could have margin. So it could be anything that you want. Okay. So box model is just that. It's just basically combining all those to create a space. So if we go to here, this example here, this example is a text. So if you want to have space in your between your text and the border, this is how you create it. You basically define the background, which is this background. You define the width, which is how big this box is. You define the border, which is this. On the border, we define it like this. We define it, we say border, we say, okay, border 15 pixels means how big this thick is, how thick it is. It's 15 pixels. Is it solid? So solid means it's all connected. You could also use something called dashed. It doesn't have to be solid. Dashed will mean like it gives it like there's a cuts in between the lines. So that's dashed, and there's different options to use. Um, so, but mostly it's just solid, and this is the color of the border. So the color of the border. Another thing you could also do is you don't have to do this way. You could say something like border size 15 pixels. You could say border width. I think it's border width 15 pixels, but I'll check that. Solid, and you could say border color green. You could say that too, and kind of like break it down. But a lot of times people just kind of like connect them, all of them, so that it's easier that way. Okay. Let me ask you guys, padding. Can we for the padding, can we basically create padding only for one size? One side, not size, but one side. Can we just give it only this side and make this side closer and make this side closer? What do you guys think?
Yes, I think we can do that.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, definitely we could do that. So if you just want to make the top side only the one that has the padding, you just give here, you say top. And now if we say this, as you can see, the only padding is on the top. You could also give a padding at the bottom. You say padding. bottom, and give it 50 pixels, and then run. As you can see, there is padding at the bottom. So you could define top, right, left, and left and bottom. Top, right, left, and bottom for the padding. um, so if you want to know like how those work, you go to padding, and I will share this link. Go to padding, and it's in our lecture too, in our lesson. But padding basically has all this: the top, right, bottom, left, and it also works as a clockwise. So basically, the top is this one. So when you see something like, you see something like this, you see something like this, and or like this. So this means basically this kind of looks confusing. Like, okay, padding 25, 50, 75, 100. What does that even mean? It means the first one, which is the where the clock is, like 1 p.m. like 1 a.m. Where the clock starts, basically the one. That is the top, and then you go to the clockwise. You go to the right. That's 50. That's the right. So you just use your hand. You just say, okay, that's right, and the 75 is the bottom, and the 100 is the left. So that's how you usually remember, and that's easiest way to remember. um they also define it here. They will tell you, let's see, I don't see that information, but it basically defines the top, right, left. So top is the first one, right is the second one, bottom is the third one, and the uh, left is the last one. Also, margin is the same thing. So margin also has that exact same thing. So margin is the same thing too. It goes top, right, bottom, left. So that's how you remember margin. Um, so if you see those, that's how you know. That's what this means. If we say, okay, let me just let me give you guys a example. Maybe tell me what it does now. 25 pixels on 25 pixels. So what is it doing now? Can you guys guess? Anyone can guess? Is it giving padding to left or to the right? What do you guys think?
I think batting top and right.
Okay, let's try it out. So
Okay.
actually we have, okay. It gave padding. So this is what it did basically. It gave 25 to the top and the bottom, and 25 to the right and the left. So usually when you have two of it, I know it's confusing. When you have two of it, it combines top and right, and left and right. Top and bottom, and left and right. It combines. So it combines the two sides and the top and left. So that's usually what it does. So it just kind of like squishes. It gives them. So now let's make this one like maybe like 50. So we see the obvious. So now this one is the right and the left, as you can see. So the right and the left has 50. Let's actually make it way too obvious. So top, the left on the left side and the right side has 100 pixels, but the top and the bottom side have 25 pixels. So it's a little bit confusing, I know, but that's how you know. If you see two of them, that means uh, the first one is the top and the bottom. The second one is the right and the left. Okay, let's see. So now, let me just quiz you guys for a second. 0, 30 pixels, and let's say 0. So can somebody tell me what are the zeros? What are the zeros to stand for? Like, is it the top, right, left, right? What are they? So use the clockwise. You say, okay, there's no trick on this one. I know the one that has two had a trick, but this one is you say, okay, the top, the right is the 0, bottom, and the left. So is the right and the left that has zeros.
I think right and left have the zeros.
Yeah, definitely. So that's how you know. Also, the margin is the same thing. We could just replace this with the margin, and it will just replace it, and that's how it's gonna do. But I mean, it's not designed for margin. So, but yeah, the margin is also exactly the same thing. It works the exact same way as the padding. Okay, so we understood what the box model is, and margin and padding, how they work. On the border, we understood a little bit about it. So now let's go back to our folder, our assignment here. Remove this because it was just an example that we were using. We'll remove this too. Let's include our CSS, this file CSS, in our HTML. So I have an example here of how we can add it. So let's just say link. So if you want to add CSS, you always add at the top of your file, the HTML file. So you add it in your head section of your HTML. So we say head, and then we say link, and then we define the what it is. So rel is defining what this is basically. What is this? Is this style sheet? What is it? So we say style sheet. So style sheet. So we're just telling the browser, okay, this link, this means this is a CSS, expected CSS. Basically, that's what we're telling the browser, and then we define where we get the CSS from. So we say href. Now it just my editor just tells me where it is, so I just go there, and then I go there. But if it doesn't tell you, you have to type it out. This means it goes to the folder, the CSS folder, and it grabs the CSS style.css file. So now if we save it, let's put something here, something like maybe like something like h1. I don't know why we deleted that header port. And let's go to the this CSS file and say h1 and give it a color of red. And let's see if that works. See? So that's how you link your CSS to your HTML. Basically, just you define it what it is. If the CSS is another website, you just put the whole website here, the HTTP or www dot. You put it right there. So that's how you define it. If the file, the style.css or the CSS file is in here with the index, you don't need the CSS folder. So that's what you need to keep in mind. All right, so let us I actually had something that we were gonna build. We were gonna pre-build the airport, international airport, but we're gonna try as much as we can. We might not finish it. We might not have the time to finish it, all of it. All right, so let me actually, before we get started, let me go over quickly the colors, and then inshallah we'll go from there. So the colors, if we go to here and we go to colors, the colors are very important in CSS. So colors are defined in several ways. There's two ways that you usually see in production in websites. One way is RGB. RGB stands for red, green, blue. So RGB. The other way is hex. So that's how you define it. So let me ask you guys, can you let me just put it here. Can we use normal color names to define colors in CSS? So can you let me guys know that? Can we do that? Can we just say, okay, color, let's say green. If we say green, is it gonna show in the CSS? Okay, good. All right. So a lot of times a lot of people don't know that, but yeah. So you're right, Suhaib, you could define the color, but not every color. Keep in mind, there are colors that are like recently defined, or they're not in the browser. They're not defined in the browser, so you might not even it might not work. So the primary colors or the colors that are well known, are usually recognized by the browser. So if we actually try it and test it out, you can see here, we see all these colors. So tomato, we could change that to just red and say run. I just change it to red. I will just say red here, red. So the background is red. You could define whatever you want here. You could say blue. Um, you could say light blue. You could say orange, like, orange. We also have the one at the bottom here. So you could define the color name. That's one way to define colors. Another way is to define it with RGB. RGB stands for red, green, blue. This is a way to define colors by using the value of the color. So the value, each color is 265 or 255 or 256. So as you can see here, 255. If it's 255, it means the color is full. If it's less than that, it means it's less. So now if we move this dial, as you can see, the red goes away. And if we make the red 0 and we make the green more, you get more green. If we get rid of the green and we get the blue, as you can see, if we get all of them, you get white. If you get none of them, you get black. So anything in between that is how you define RGB. So now if we want to define, let's go back to here. If we want to define this red, let's say, as an RGB, how do we define it? Can somebody give me a example of that? How do you define red in RGB? And keep in mind that red is the first one, and is you just say RGB and then you define the color. Anyone has an example of red?
I 255, 252, then other is as 0.
Okay, good. Definitely. Okay. So before you define that's correct. Before you define it, you say RGB, and then you give it that bracket, and then now you define the color. So you say 255, and then the rest are zeros. So now if we run, that becomes red. If we make this one 0 and we make the last one 255, what do you guys think it's gonna come? What is it gonna be? Keep in mind that these the colors are right here. So you just map these. You just say, okay, R stands for this, G stands for this, B stands for this.
It is blue.
Blue. Okay. Good. So that's how you define RGB. And you could play around with it. You could create transparency in RGB. That's one thing that's good at. So we understood RGB. The next thing is hex. Hex. So hex colors are interesting, and they're the ones that are used the most. Hex colors, you have to have at least you have to have a maximum of 6 characters, like this. 6 characters, a mix of letters and numbers. So you could just play around with it like that. So the first 2 letters are red, the middle letters or numbers are green, and the last ones are blue. So that's how you define them that way. But you don't know, most people don't know, like how do you memorize all this stuff. You just Google it. You just say, okay, if you want to get, let's say, a green RGB, you could just get a green RGB from here. But you could Google it. You could say something like did I say RGB? I mean hex green color. So as you can see, you have all these, and there's actually a graph here that you could use to know different colors and their hex. There's websites where actually you could just use to pick a color. All these colors is their hex. There is there's a website that you could pick. Let's see, what is it? There's a website where you could pick a color. Yeah. So there's a lot of information in the internet for color, the color that you want, and if you want to find a hex. So that's how you define. Also, you could come here to W3 schools and just play around with it and find the color that you want. So that's a hex. You could also use 2 letters. 3 letters, and you could also define it that way too. So let's see. So if we want to define, let's see, if we want to define something like black, how do we define black in in hex, not RGB? First, you start with a hash. How do you define that? Do you guys know?
Zeros.
Zeros. Okay, good. 0 0 0 0 0 0. So that's black right there. How do you define white? To how to define? So define FF. Okay, yeah, you're right. So it's FF. F. You could actually leave it in like 3 characters, and it will still be white. And also, you could have like 3 numbers, and it still be black. But it's good to have 6 of them. So when it's just a black and white, you could just have like 3 of them. But when it's a different color, it's better to have all the characters. So if we just randomly just add something here, like 6 of them, it will not work a lot of times. So it's good to like kind of like go to a website and find out what do you need. So as you can see now, we just different numbers, and it gave us that color. So that's hex, and that's, you will see hex a lot. It's important. So those are colors, and that's how you define the colors. I think most of you know text align and things like that, and we will get to it, and we'll get to this. CSS specificity. I would say watch the video for CSS specificity. I did talk about the video. We don't have a lot of time. We only have like 15 minutes. But it's important to learn CSS specificity. It's important. So let's get back to this. Let me see. I had something here instead of Grayson. Let's get back to it. So we will basically, I actually wanted to like go through quickly and build out the international airport website. So let's just, I have a note here that I wrote down so I don't forget the steps. So now we have H1, but before the H1, we need to create a div container. So let's say class container. And we went through this in the HTML last time. Container. We'll create the head, not the head, header. We'll put this one right here in the header. We'll create the nav. We'll create a couple of links here, href. I'm going to go through this quickly because we did this yesterday. Let's actually, I think we could just copy the one we did instead of rewriting it. So let's go to our code bin and grab the one we did yesterday. I think it was this one. Let's just grab it. Yeah, instead of rewriting the whole thing, we just do that. And we just grabbed a little bit of CSS that we did. Okay, in your assignment, that's usually what you will do. You will just copy your own, the one you did yesterday, the assignment you did yesterday. So let's refresh. So as you can see, this is our website now. We want to make it a little bit better. And also I wanted to add a different image or something like that. Let me just grab that image. So I wanted to add this image. Let's go back. Go to images, paste it here. No problem. We could just keep it the way it is. So the image source, we'll change that to images on this image. So instead of having this, we'll have image. What happened? Oh, we just removed that. It's gonna be way too big for this. So we just define the width and say something like maybe 100%. Okay. Let's define a couple of things. So now we have this section, everything set up. Let's define a few things. Let me just go back to my note. We need to set up the navigation first, and also the logo here, the header. So now let me get that CSS set up. Let me just go back to CSS and see if everything's set up. Let me put Batty here. Let's say the margin we're gonna make it 0 pixels. Let's put family font family. We'll put something like sig UI. So font family is a you could define a lot of font families. Just like in Microsoft Word, you have like a lot of fonts. Just like that, you could define in CSS and say font family, and get your font. So as you can see, things are changing. It's actually zoom out. That's how it looks like. But also we need to get rid of this 500. So it fills out the whole page. And it's too stretched out. Maybe let's give it a width of let's give it a width of like 1,200 pixels. And then let's say the margin, let's make it auto. Okay, looks nicer. Now we need to fix this, make it better. Okay, so let's go back to the. Okay, let's go back to the HTML. So we need to define the title. First, we need to give it a class that contains this whole section, the header. So we'll give it class. I mean, we could just say header. It's not a big deal. I like giving things headers and make organizing things. Header, okay. So now the header, we'll give it height of let's give it 70 pixels, and let's give it a width of 100%. Let's also give it a background of something like we're going to use a hex. So we just learned the hex and we're using that right now. So I wrote down a hex E7. I'm going quick because we don't have a lot of time. So I want to finish. I want to have something nice before we talk about things. So relative. Now if we go back, it's going to look different in the header, as you can see. Another thing we need to do is we need to connect the two things. So let's see. Header, okay, nav header. Give this its own div. So we say div and give it a class of, let's give it something like let's see. Let's give it something like a header title. Because we want to separate it, so we're going to give it like that. So header title. All right here, let's define it. Dot header title. I'll just make this one display inline. Display inline. so that it allows this to come in line. But we haven't defined the other one either, so it's taking its own space too. All right, so let's define the. All right, let's define the h1. The h1 is taking all the space. Dot header title h1. Let's give it a couple of things. So the h1, we'll give it display. We'll say display inline block. We'll also say font, which is going to change the font size to 22 pixels. We will say just color. We'll keep it. Let's keep it white. Yeah, you could just say the color name itself. Let's give it a pattern of 15 pixels, 15 pixels, 10 pixels, 13 pixels, and 200 pixels. Let's see how that works out. Okay, we kind of messed it up. Okay, so let's just get rid of. Let's make this one smaller. 20 pixels. I think that's what's messing it up. And we have to give you maybe a small space, some padding at the bottom. So we just learned. So this one. So tell me, guys, which one is the bottom? We're trying to change the bottom. Which one do you think is the bottom? Just there's 1, 2, 3, 4.
3 is the bottom.
3 is the bottom. Okay, let's add a little bit more to the bottom. Maybe something like 40. Oh, it's not changing the background code. Okay, it's fine. I'm just going. Let's make the top space smaller. Maybe like 5. Okay, that's much better. It's in here. Okay, so we have the logo set up. The next thing we need to do is we need to set up the navigation. So for the navigation, let me give it a, let me just say nav. So navigation is right here. We'll say nav. Nav, we'll define it. Let's say display inline. Let's also say float, not left but right. Float right helps you like move things to the right. So float right, font size, let's make it 18 pixels and give it a pattern of similar pattern as this one. So let's just give it similar pattern because since similar pattern, but except, yeah, just try that. As you can see, guys, it went to this side. But we just kind of like, another thing you could do is, we don't have a lot of time, but we might go over a little bit. Another thing you could do is you could use your browser to like inspect like that. So use inspector. So let me try that again. So right click in your browser, click inspect. And this works in Chrome and Firefox. Click inspect. And it shows you what you selected right here. We selected this and it shows the CSS on the side, on the right side. So now if we go to the nav, this is what we just defined. You could just play around with this and see, okay, we need to basically maybe give more the top one like that. And maybe give the right one a little bit more so that we can push it from the side right here and push a little bit inward. So this is top and this is the right. So just push it like that. And yeah, so that's it. You're kind of like set now. But you have to copy this and paste it in your editor. Otherwise the changes will not happen. So that's how you usually, if something is not like 100% right, this is how you kind of edit it and kind of like figure out how it is. Actually, we have to like maybe move the top a little bit. So we could have lined up here. So 23 at the top. So just change 23 to this. So that's how you define it. Okay. let's see now. What do we need? We just need to change the link. So now we're just gonna say nav a. I think that's how it is. Let's see our HTML nav a. Yes. So now we're changing the link. So the link will say display. We'll say inline block. So let me talk about a little bit inline block and inline block. So there's a block and there's inline block. Let me just quickly touch that. Even if we run out of time, it's important to understand something instead of just writing it down. So let's just understand what that is. Let me see, where is it? Where is inline display? So it's important to understand display, and it's part of our lesson today. Display is there is different types of ways to display things. One way is, let's say, one way is a block. Another way is inline. What block means is that it takes over the whole space. So think of a block as like a block of wood or something like that, or like your area, like Hafadada is a block. So it takes over the whole neighborhood. So block is like it just stretches itself, and it's like I'm gonna take over everything, and like it's like that guy, or like Salat like just pushes everyone away. So block is like that. It's just it just pushes everything, and it just takes over the whole width. So the whole width of the page, it takes over. Inline is friendly. So inline is a nicer person. It allows other people to take more space, and it takes as much space as it wants. So some of the elements that are block are this. So these elements are block. So if you define these elements by default in the browser, they just take over the whole space. Let me give you an example of that. Let's go to our HTML, and maybe like at the bottom, let's define something like h1, and let's say something like block test. So if we go to our nice website we're just building, and we go at the bottom, as you can see here at the bottom, block test takes everything. If we write something next to it, let's say we write something like span, and we say something like can I get in this line, something like that. It's begging. It's like, oh, can I get in here? Yeah. So h1 is like, no, that's not gonna happen. But you could change that. You could change that and say and say, okay, make the h1 an inline. The way you could do it is you could define in CSS. So if we go in here and we define like we're gonna delete this, but we're just gonna say h1. Any h1, make it inline. We just say display inline. So now this one becomes inline. And if we say refresh, see, it allows you to kind of like be part of it. So it's friendly now, but before it wasn't friendly. And it could be anything. It could be any of this. It could be any of these. So it could be div, h1, paragraph, all these are not friendly. So they don't allow you to take a space. Some of the elements that are inline by default are span. Span is inline by default. Link is inline by default, and image is inline by default. There's also none. So if you say none, so we say here display, and we put none, that doesn't mean it's gonna get rid of the inline, all that. It's basically gonna get rid of this whole h1 part. It's gonna get rid of that. So if we go back here, it's just gonna remove that. So it means do not display. So none means do not display. So those are the things that you need to understand about inline display. We're gonna go into more advanced. There's something called flex, which is a little more advanced, and it's gonna come into the next lesson. So display, you put here flex instead of that inline or that. But just read this. I'll just share this link. Read a little bit more about display and how it works. It's gonna come into your lesson, and when you're trying to work on your lesson, and I might ask a question about it in Friday. So make sure you understand what display does. All right, let's go back to our thing that we were doing. Let's delete all this. Let's quickly finish what we were doing so that you have a way to do your assignment. Your assignment today is going to be, I'm going to show you how it works. but what I'm doing right now is going to help you in your assignment, definitely. So we were doing the link. So right now, if we go back to our international website, what happened here? Let's delete this. Oh, we made it so that what happened? Okay, let's get rid of all this. And should we get rid of this? Okay, no idea what happened, but it's okay. Let's open it again. It's showing only that. That is not good. I think we changed the A, so that's why it's doing that. But let's just finish it up, this one. So A display, let's give it a pattern. So the pattern will give something like pattern. We'll give it. Let's just give it the same thing as this. Let's see, it's a little bit less, but it's gonna be okay. We'll adjust it and say text decoration, not text align, text decoration. We will say none. So text decoration is the underline. So this line underneath, we're just saying get rid of it. And then we will change the color to whatever we want. So I'll change it to something like EF. It's a nice color. So as you can see, it is way apart. So we do not want that. Now we're just gonna edit that and edit the. So the first one is the top. So let's just adjust that, make it like that. We also wanna make it so that the right is not as much. I mean, it is more. We need to have more, but the left is the one that is the problematic. So let's just make this one smaller, much bigger. I mean, okay, I don't know what's going on here. Let's just refresh. So if something's not working out, you just refresh it and it goes back to the default one. Let's just get rid of this and say, okay, so let's make the text smaller. I don't know why it's going all the way. Display, okay. Let's add a little padding. Let's say something like 20 pixels, 10 pixels, 10 pixels, and 10 pixels. All right. So that's making the right more. I think we should add margin to the top. Okay, we have two things that are mixing up. Okay, that's the problem. So I was confused. Okay, this is the problem. Where's the problem's coming from? Let's just get rid of that. I was like, what is happening? Okay, just get rid of that. Let's get rid of this too. Okay. All right, so let's fix it. So 0 here. Make it like that. Okay, we don't want anything at the bottom. We just want to push to the side. We want to push margin from right. 20 pixels. Is that it? I'm gonna put them together. Yeah, it's kind of acting up, but the main thing is we should just move it here. But let me just go back to my note. Nav A. Okay. Let's make it exactly how my note is, so that we just we have an easier way of kind of like figuring it out. 13, 10, 13, and then this is 0. No, this is 10. Okay. All right. I think this is what mixing us is the rest, the top one. So let's see. Yeah, this is what's messing us up. Okay. Let's make this less. What happened here? All right. Okay. We have a little bit of space at the bottom. That's fine. We'll just adjust it. Okay. So that looks better, much better than before. So we just take this and change the nav to this. Let's just adjust that. Okay, so that looks good. Just we need to adjust to the top. Let's see. Where's this coming from? Yeah. All right. So we can adjust more, but it's just you just add a little bit of margin at the bottom in the nav. But let's just move on so that we don't waste a lot of time. We're already over 10 minutes. Okay, what else do we need to do? We did the navigation, we did the image, and let's see, the text. Let's give it a pattern. So let's say here section. Let's give it its own thing. So let's just give it a main. Say main. All the way here. Let's say main pattern. Let's give it like maybe like 30 pixels. So it's gonna give a pattern all around like that. Okay. So as you can see, just we have the footer left, but we don't have a lot of time. I'll finish it. I'll finish it up, and I'll send you guys the code so you can look at it. But the main thing is just making sure that you have the displays right, you have the padding right, you have the inline on the block. So this one, as you can see, we used a inline to get these two together next to each other. Otherwise, this will take the whole thing. So if you look at the code, we have the header is inline. We made the header inline. We made the header relative, but also the header title is inline and the navigation is inline. So that's the main thing you need to understand about this. The colors, the decoration, making sure everything looks nice. So everything we talked about, you could apply to this and try your best to finish up the assignment. It's not easy. The assignment is not easy today. So let's just go over quickly the assignment. So today's assignment, you will copy the old code you did from CodeBin, and you go to GitHub. You did everything we did. So you go here, you fork it, and then after forking it, you add me as a collaborator, and then you clone your code to your computer. You download the editor, and also you'll use this design as your inspiration. So this is how it should look like. Sorry, somebody sent me a text. This is how it should look like. I was trying to get to something like this. This is how it should look like. This is just an image. So Fatima restaurant that you guys were working on yesterday, try to make it similar to this as much as you can for today. So that's your assignment for today. Follow the instructions here. Always read these instructions. Make sure you read it, every step you have. This is your instruction right here. to fork it and clone it and all that. And then this is your minimum viable product, MVP. So you need to like add CSS to your file. You need to semantically mark it, and then you need to add colors on the header. So I give you the color type, the hex. I also give you even the font and all that. So just do this, follow these rules. But if you finish that and you're done with that and you're really good at it, then go to the stretch. So this is a stretch. So this is extra. Don't go to this unless you finish your basic assignment. After you finish that, just submit it, commit to a new branch like we did. You can watch this video again, commit to a new branch, and then add me as a reviewer, as I did. And then when you add as reviewer, just let me know. Submit it to your form. Go to here, go submit your daily form. Let's go back to the forms. Just like yesterday, submit your daily form, and inshallah, you're good to go. Put the link to your GitHub. So the GitHub, you just submit it. So you just copy this and put the link right here, and fill out the rest and just select your name. So that's the assignment for today. Try your best. I know it's very difficult. I know there's a lot to cover. Try your best, inshallah. And if you do this, this means you're really a good front end developer. So inshallah, you'll be good. So try your best. Do you guys have any question before we close out? Any question?
One quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Git markaan soo download, when I want to download the Git, I'm getting multiple choices, like literally. Let me get it quick. Let me find it.
You said when you download Git or when you download
When I
Git
want to
Bash?
download, when I'm going to download Git Bash,
Git
I'm
Bash,
getting
okay.
I'm getting a multiple options, which is like binary, small stuff. Let me actually get it quick so I can see exactly what it says. Git. Okay, when I go download Mac OS, so I'm getting Xcode binary installer building from source. Which one will I exactly download? Will I download
which computer do you have? Do you have Windows or Mac?
Mac?
Okay, Mac. So you click the Mac.
Yes, I did.
Oh, so this is what you got. Okay. So now let me see. I haven't downloaded in Mac. Oh, here's the thing. You don't need a Mac. You don't need a Git Bash in Mac. So in Mac, sorry to I didn't go over this. In Mac, you could use the Mac terminal.
Mac terminal. Okay.
So if you have used that before, how to open and use the Mac terminal here. There's a link here. So use the Mac terminal instead of the Git Bash, because it's, Mac has already built in terminal. This one, it has that terminal built in. So I'll share this link with you. I assume most people had Windows, so that's why I didn't go over it. But definitely, terminal Mac has its own terminal built in, and it does the same thing as the Git Bash. So don't worry about Git Bash. You don't need it.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Yep. Yeah, Mac and Linux, they have their own terminals. They don't need to Git Bash. Windows is the is the one that's not good. It needs to Git Bash. Any other question you guys have? So I hope you guys understand the assignment. Just go to the link at the bottom of the assignment 2 today. I'll share that link too, of the assignment 2. If you don't have access to the training material, I will give you the access, inshallah. I think
Ustad,
yeah.
webkii accesskiisa ma haysan maxaa
Okay, I will send it to you. I'll send it to you. I was just busy trying to finish this on time, but I'll send it to you in a minute, inshallah. I'll send you the access. But yeah, so you just click this, you go to the GitHub, click it, GitHub, make sure you fork it. If you don't fork it, that means you're just working on a Git School branch, and your changes will not make any difference. Fork it here. I see already 3 people forked it. Yeah, there were people that were helping me before. But yeah, just follow these instructions here. Try to make the design look like the design that we have, design file. use the content that you had before from yesterday's lesson to kind of like come as close as you can. You don't have to be perfect to the pixel. If you could be perfect to the pixel, that's great. But if you run out of time and you're stressed out and all that stuff, just come as close as you can to the design file. So, and keep in mind that this design file is something that we keep doing. So there's going to be other design files in the future where you will design something like this, not exactly like this, but like the assignments will be similar to this, where you'll have a design file and you just copy that with code with CSS. So that'll be how it will go, inshallah. So let me know if you have any questions about GitHub, how to set up all that stuff, and inshallah, try your best. You have until 4:30, and please make sure if you can, if you some of you live in Somalia, so if it's too late for you, just submit your assignment and let me know that you're not coming to the stand up. We have a stand up at 4:30. It's 30 minutes before the day ends for the for this cohort. So yeah, go ahead.
hal mar ku su'aali yani
So we have a stand up. We have a meeting.
waxaan rabaa inaad ku soo celiso
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
tusaale aniga casharkii ugu horreeyay waa kale waqti xisadii ugu horreysay
صح.
marka waxaan rabaa haddii assignment-kan aan soo submit gareynayo ma meesha caadiga aan kusoo submit gareysa like mise GitHub-kaaga taas waa iga faahfaahsan.
So if you submitting this assignment, waxaa isticmaalaysaa, you will use the collaborator here settings. Add me as a collaborator. That's one way I will know. Another way is you use the form. So I mean, it's not another way. It's you also submit the form. So daily forms are must, so that I can grade you. That means you finish. So when you're done with the assignment and you submit it to GitHub, you just copy the link from GitHub. You fill out this form, and this form you can find it in here, and I'll give you access to this, inshallah, right after we finish this. You will find all the forms here. So the form we use every day is the daily reflection, and you submit that form, and when you're done with that form, that means you're done. But we will have a stand-up at 30 minutes before 5 p.m. In my time, so it will be when the time ends. So I don't know where you guys live, but it basically the class starts at 9 a.m. It ends at 5 p.m. So 30 minutes before it ends, that's when we will do the stand-up. So if you can come here, it will be good. Basically, what we will do the stand-up is just we'll talk. You tell me if you had any hiccups, any issues, if you have any questions, if you want a more explanation of something, and then we'll just end it. It's more discussion than lecture, inshallah. So that's how you send your sign up. If you have any question about like other things, try to watch the lecture from yesterday, especially the first part of it, the first 30 minutes. Try to watch it, and it explains everything in the system, inshallah. So I had the videos are right here in the Slack. So the one from yesterday is right here, full time. Where is it? The full time is here. Oh, this is the part time. The full time is right before it. Where did I share it? Yeah, I shared it somewhere here. Yeah, right here. This is the full time. So when you click it, it takes you to YouTube, and it's the full lecture. But you could just watch the first maybe 30 minutes and understand like what I'm talking about, how things work, inshallah. All right, guys, we went over about 30 minutes, so I will let you go, inshallah. Khair idin rajaynaya. I'll see you on a stand up, or I'll see you tomorrow. Let me know if you're not coming to stand up. Just send me a text if it's too hard for you. So inshallah, take care, guys. I'm gonna stop it here.
Stand up kanaga 2 a.m. ayaa noo taa umaleyna.
Okay. Bismillah, just work on that assignment as much as you can. And you could also, you could also keep working on it when you wake up. So try your best to finish as much as you can. But if it's too hard for you, you don't have to come. Just send me a message and say, okay, I'm gonna go sleep. I did this and I did that. I finished this part. and I'm gonna continue on the
Okay.
next part. So inshallah, no pressure.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. I'm gonna close it down here. I'll see you later. I'll see you another time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum